Well, coronavirus is over, but now they gotta find something else to bitch about. But really, guys, what's up, guys? It's Hit You Good with Hit You Good Gaming, and today I'm bringing some uplifting news regarding Battlefield 2142. Battlefield game designer Mr. Daniel Berlin has unleashed the dogs of social justice warrior hell recently. Yeah, pretty freaking scary, I know. But just as DICE unveiled their next title based on climate catastrophes, leftist game journalists started drooling over the prospect that DICE could be pushing yet another progressive liberal narrative. But this time, it wouldn't be Genderfield V. Oh no, it would be a new Battlefield game riddled with climate alarmism. Oh, the doomsday protagonists rejoiced at the thought of a new game furthering their narrative of global warming bullshit and refugee resettlement until DICE came out and game designer Daniel Berlin, he was just like, nah, it's just a video game.
But, I mean, yeah, of course, it's a video game, but be for real. Like, the man-made climate change was caused by greedy capitalist pigs. That's what, right?
No real reason or cause. It's just a multiplayer game that uses climate catastrophe to kind of further a story and narrative, and we thought it'd be more interesting, realistic that way.
Oh god, okay, look, I'm literally shaking right now. So what's not realistic about all this is that you not showing the world how wrong they are for driving their SUVs and drinking out of plastic straws. Okay, so what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna tweet about this on my new $1,000 iPhone until you, sir, are fired.
Where are you going? I mean, it's literally just a game.
Greedy capitalist patriarchal bastards!
So in this piece right here, put out by Mr. Luke Winkie at IGN, he basically laments that his cause of onset depression is from DICE developers not trying to further a leftist agenda in Battlefield 2042. So it reads as follows. Battlefield 2042 setting is, in a word, fraught. The world is in the middle of a cascading climate cataclysm. Entire countries have been destabilized by the chaos, leading to an unprecedented refugee crisis. Some of those refugees find themselves conscripted by either Russia or the US in a new world war, where they slaughter each other in a number of conspicuously dystopian environments. One multiplayer map literally takes place on an Antarctic brutalized by the oil industry. Oh, the oil industry. It's all oil industry. It's greedy capitalists. Another plays out in Persian Gulf metropolis ravaged by sandstorms. I don't know, that sounds a little manly for, social justice warrior. Anyways, he says, as I watched the reveal, it became impossible to ignore how many of 2042's themes are borrowed from explicit storylines that we're concurrently living through. The climate displacement era is already upon us. I'm sorry, sweetheart. It's not. We'll go into that in a minute. Tensions between global sovereignties are growing, and it's no longer difficult to imagine a lower Manhattan where the water comes up to your knees. Listen, I'm sorry to tell you, that's just not the case. It's not. Based on a study by the Permanent Service for Mean Sea Level, sea levels are constantly changing everywhere. That's why they went from a global warming to climate change, because you can't say climate change is wrong because the climate's constantly changing. It always is. So are these sea levels everywhere you look. And even in this graphic right here, you can see some of them are going up, some of them are going down, some of them are staying fairly the same. I'm telling you, there's no global emergency. People are not fleeing from the coastline. They're not doing it. There's no wave of immigrants coming over from Mexico or from one country to another because of global warming. It's an absolute lie. They're fleeing oppressive governments ran by communist fascists. That's what they're fleeing from, and now they're in search of freedom. So therefore, they come to America, all right? They come to America for freedom. When Haitian refugees pile on their rickety boats trying to escape their corrupt countries, they bypass the glorious communist paradise of Cuba, Jamaica, and the Cayman Islands. Instead, they head for Florida, which is further away in all those 523 miles. Why? Do you think it's because they love early bird specials and bingo night and 124% humidity at all times of the day? No. The reason that they flee and the reason that they go to Florida is because the greedy capitalist pigs in America still offer a much better quality of life than any benevolent dictator could, all right? But back to the article. DICE is presenting a stark, brutal interpretation of the Earth in the very near future, where our ecological systems are pushed past the brink by unsustainable power structures. If there's anything that is unsustainable in this world, it's those renewable energy sources. It takes exponentially more fossil fuels to create 1 gigawatt of energy than it is if you just use fossil fuels directly for energy. I mean, look at this graphic right here. It's plain to see you are wasting so many resources trying to get that warm and fuzzy feeling inside about going green. It's a foreboding highly plausible dystopia that renders Battlefield 2042 into a political object where the country wants to, whether the company wants to admit it or not. Here we go. We don't care what you say, whether you're the game developer or not. We're gonna wield your game as a club to beat those capitalists over the head and all those evil people who drive SUVs. We're gonna use that. You're gonna like it too. You're gonna like it. I say that because design director Daniel Berlin demurred at my line of questioning when I interviewed him shortly after the Battlefield 2042 presentation. Here's my query and his answer unabridged. He says, Battlefield 2042 is talking about depatriated people. We're talking about citizens who've been displaced by climate change and war. Is there any sort of sensitivity towards those issues for the guys? Is there any social commentary anywhere with what you're trying to do at this point? He's like, please, Berlin, come on, give it to me. Give me those one-liners. Let's get those greedy capitalist oil embargo pigs. But or is this purely just a multiplayer game? And Berlin comes back and says, oh no, it's purely a multiplayer game for us. No, sir. We are not trying any of that Battlefield 5 shit. We got in trouble last time. That was awful. The reason we decided to go down this route is so we could create a narrative with this world that we could create through the eyes of the no-pats. And that is the in-universe term for, refugees that have been displaced by this war. And, U.S. is picking people. They're kind of having a proxy war with them. USA versus Russia. We wanted to get more spectacle in there and more massive events happening. The setting, it fits perfectly. It fits that scale and gives us reasons to go all over the world. It's for gameplay reasons across the board. So he's coming out and saying right now, of course, none of this is abridged. There's one question and one answer. So I don't know how that's unabridged, but he's coming out and laying out, nope, it's gameplay only. We are not saying anything political this time. And this is where Luke Winkie loses it. All right. He says, I doubt Berlin truly believes this answer. He coexists on the Earth with the rest of us, and the team at DICE is clearly familiar with the prognostic source of material they're drawing from. There is nothing that outlandish about the nightmare Battlefield 2042 intends to present, and it's a paradoxical claim, a work of fiction where resources are scarce and the vulnerable are recreated into an interminable conflict between superpowers isn't political. But unfortunately, there is still a fear of admitting the obvious with the AAA gaming strata, and let me tell you, the AAA games out there, they're woke, okay? They really are. Look at Battlefield 5, look at The Last of Us 2, huge, all right? It seems likely that EA believes that by avoiding the P word, they are removing themselves from greater levels of critical and customer scrutiny. Yeah, like most of them. But consider what the company is inferring when it declares ideological inertness. If Battlefield 2042 was truly apolitical, that means that DICE was exclusively inspired by the graphical possibilities of our coming apocalypse, and that the collateral human misery, failed states, and biospheric catastrophe seem solely like incredible venues for the firefights and nothing more. That is grim as hell. By filtering Climate Armageddon solely through, in Berlin's words, gameplay reasons, DICE has ironically one of the more trenchant political commentaries the crisis has entertained. We all know what's coming, but we dare not verbalize those who are responsible. No, you do it all the time. You bitch about it constantly. I hope EA and the rest of the games industry changes its tone before it's too late. Before it's too late? Oh no, the world's gonna end. Please, guys, it is not like climate alarmists have not been telling us this for the past 100 years. You can look up articles from the early 1900s talking about climate catastrophes and all these dangers from using fossil fuels that have never once ever materialized. As a matter of fact, all it's done is made people safer. And that's why Al Gore and the rest of them, they keep putting out, oh, it's going to be too late in 10 years, in 12 years, in 20 and 30 years, because by the time that 20 or 30 year mark rolls around, you've already forgotten what they've said back then. But we've got a couple instances here. But since the early 1900s, when they started, complaining about this, we have seen a decrease of climate-related deaths by 98%. 98%, guys, 98% decrease in climate-related deaths. We are a safer people. And since 1990, global malnourishment has decreased by a whopping 40%. I don't know why they've got something. They're so against these reliable, cheap, plentiful sources of electricity that are saving lives. And it's absolutely awful that people like Luke Winkie and the left want to come out and they want to make kids think that they only have 10 more years to live. Like, you're scaring the hell out of these young people who honestly think that these big corporations are going to be the doom, the death of everyone. And you're okay with that because it furthers your political narrative. You have to know that it's false. You have to. As a matter of fact, I want to go back to 1998. A very well-known climate Scientologist, Bill McKibben, endorsed a scenario outlawing 60% of fossil fuel use to slow catastrophic climate change. Even though that would mean, in his words, this is a quote from him, that each human being would get to produce 1.69 metric tons of carbon dioxide annually, which would allow you to drive an average American car 9 miles a day. By the time that population increased to 8.5 billion in about 2025, which we're rolling up on, you'd be down to 6 miles a day. If you carpooled, you have about 3 pounds of CO2 left in your daily ration if you rode with somebody. Enough to run a highly efficient refrigerator. Forget your computer, your TV, your stereo, your stove, your dishwasher, your water heater, your microwave, your water pump, your clock. Forget your light bulbs, compact fluorescent or not. And all these climate alarmists, they all prescribe to the same kind of thinking. As a matter of fact, Bill McKibben, now today, he is endorsing a 95% ban on fossil fuel use. That's 8 times more severe than what I just described. Now, if we're having all these lives saved because of our fossil fuel usage, well, what do you think is going to happen if we decrease it by 95%? All of these third world countries all of a sudden don't have clean drinking water, don't have the technology to have earthquake-proof buildings. They can't stay cold in the summer and hot in the winter. They're advocating for a policy that perpetuates death. Now, I've got a ton more details on this, but I really just want to lay out I want to lay out all these little details to repudiate what the people at IGN and all these climate alarmists are saying, just how dangerous their policies really are, and why it's so ridiculous that they decide to attack a video game over this. And for that, DICE, I want to tell you thank you. Absolutely. Bravo. Thank you for not introducing politics in your game. And even if you got something that's kind of political, but it's kind of putting the story further, that's fine with me. I'm okay with that. It's not being shoved down anybody's throats that, climate change is real and you're going to believe it. It's such a stark contrast to Battlefield V, where, the developers told their customers not to buy the game, called them uneducated because, there was a handful of women that fought in World War II, so therefore one needs to be on the cover. You know what? I'm really fine with that. I don't care. But when you start telling, your consumer base that they're uneducated and, just start attacking them over that, that's what I have a problem with. And that's what a lot of people had a problem with. That's why a lot of people didn't buy Battlefield 5. But kudos to the people who didn't, who stood strong and, decided not to buy the game. This has apparently made an impact. And kudos to DICE for seeing that and realizing that we don't want our games to be political. We are tired of it. And thank you for not caving to the social justice warriors out there. You're going to receive more pressure from them. I pray that you do not cave to that, because this really just makes me want to play Battlefield 2042 even more. Anyways, guys, thank y'all. You have a blessed day. This is Hit You Good. Out.